Hello, welcome back to our Cafe Latte Chat session. Now we're gonna just carry on our discussion. Insha Ahmad will say his piece now.
Enjoy the drink first. Yes, thank you. Just warming up, so that's good.
Yeah.
I have just a couple of additional inputs to add to the previous two speakers. The thing about household waste that I mentioned earlier, if you look at actually 50%, 40% of household waste is actually organic in nature. Most of it is food. Okay, and some say Malaysia a fortunate country. Some food good enough to eat, unfortunately, because we throw a lot of. Then we got other things like paper and we got plastics and so on. Mentioned earlier, some of the things that there's a lot of value from the waste. You heard the story, waste to wealth, right? Actually, a lot of waste can be recycled. So on my own, I mean, part of the chairman of education awareness, Dr. Nazri mentioned that in Malaysia we are building up the infrastructure and collection. We have to create the discipline and the culture, awareness, and the mindset. Yes, that does take time. But what my family have done, we have actually done our own waste sorting. We're starting back in 2006. So we sort our aluminium cans, our tin cans, our plastics, and so on. So on our own, we have done that a couple of years ago because we want to walk the talk. And from that, every month or 2 months, I've taken all of the waste to the nearby junkyard and sold it to the junkyard. And from that, you see the value of waste. Now, you'll be surprised. Maybe people would say, okay, number one, no-brainer. Aluminum cans, very expensive, about $3 to $4 per kg. So what's number two? So people think might be scrap iron, might be paper. But it's not. Paper is only about 30 to 40 cents per kg if you sell it to your nearby junkyard. Number two is actually plastics, RM1 per kg. So most people are not aware that there is value in plastics being recycled, whether it's plastic bottles or plastic bags. Now back to the issue of, we mentioned earlier about waste, about degradation. Now, one thing what we want to do is that litter, we want to see things disappear, right? You throw a paper bag or plastic bag, you think, why disappear? That's good. But that may have a negative impact on littering. Actually, the United Nations mentioned that especially plastic bags or anything that's degradable, they say it may encourage littering because people have the notion that it's a throwaway society. I just throw it away, then by itself it will disappear. So they say the best way to actually combat littering is don't litter in the first place. Okay? Don't litter in the first place. Find the right place to throw your litter. And the thing is, when we have things that can biodegrade, may it be food or potentially biodegradable plastics, when it land up in the landfill, remember the landfill, it's a dark environment, there's no oxygen, there's no air because it's underground. What happens is that when it degrades, instead of releasing carbon dioxide when it's above the ground, it actually, under those so-called anaerobic conditions where the amount of oxygen is very low or nil, you actually produce methane, which is actually as a greenhouse gas, it is 22 times more lethal than carbon dioxide. So of degradation in a landfill where there's no oxygen actually produce methane, a biogas. And that's why in some of the landfill sites they have biogas recovery. They actually recovered methane. Is a good fuel, but if it releases by itself without treatment, actually it causes methane, which is actually 22 times more lethal.
It's 21 times.
21 times more lethal than carbon dioxide. So by the end of the day, it's about waste management. It's about making sure that your waste, organic waste or anything, they are separated so that you get the best value and don't create further problems. That issue that people have about, we had this discussion about biodegradable plastics as a way to combat actually littering. We are wearing this badge because end of the day we found out that the root cause of littering is human beings. Alright, so if you try to solve the case of material, it's not a holistic solution. But the issue with biodegradable plastics, it uses food source, cornstarch, tapioca. So it's the same debate, it's the same contentious issue with biofuel, bioethanol from corn. So land that we can use to plant food, there's competition now, and we have seen that food prices go up because now food base, whether it's corn, can be used for biofuel, bioplastics, or food, which is the priority. Obviously, food. So we we do not want to use a food source as a source to make plastics. You have to see the pros and the cons. So at the end of the day, the value of some of these plastics, even though it's not degradable, more value to be recycled. And in countries like Japan, they have very good waste management program. They separate all the plastics. Actually, the plastics, the conventional plastics, has very high calorific value. What it means is a good fuel. Okay, it's petrochemical. So they actually is a sought after waste, if you will. But that's one way to make sure that a society where you have ideally a zero landfill situation, like Dato' just came back from Vienna. If you know Vienna, Dato', I think there's one incinerator in the middle of the city that looks like a amusement park palace. You know, you think it's a amusement park. It's not. It's an incinerator. I know there's certain issues with that. Same thing in Japan. At the end of the day, if you want a solution, I mentioned earlier, biodegradable plastics is not a solution for packaging issues or littering. It is not. It's best that we look at solutions that deals with waste management. So it's a waste management issue. There's value in recycling, 3R. Okay, it's a good business because if you look at the plastics value chain I mentioned earlier, the industry is self-sustaining. I mentioned earlier when I took my household waste to the neighborhood junkyard, I learned firsthand the value of the recycling industry. Of course, it's not a glamorous industry, it's not a clean industry, but imagine plastics is the second most expensive waste. Most people are not aware of that. They buy 1 ringgit from you per kg, and these just recyclers, they take all the scrap waste and they sell it to the recyclers at 2 ringgit per kg. Tell me a business that makes almost 100% margin. That's why maybe it's a well-kept secret. Okay, so what the recyclers do, even the dirty plastic bag, dirty bottles, they wash them and they will recycle them, make them into the pellets, and be used for making maybe nursery bags, furniture, because they will mix that with new or prime resins, because the price of new or prime resins, they're about 4 ringgit per kg. So they sell, the recyclers, when they take all these plastics together, crush them, make it into pellets, they sell them at about 3 ringgit per kg. So my colleagues in industry might not be so happy I'm revealing their trade secret, but I'm telling you, it's a good business if people value. There's value in recycling, the 3 R's you mentioned earlier. So maybe I stop at that first and let my other colleagues here.
Sorry, just to pick up, what Kamodius mentioned. Okay, plastics is a single-use material. Okay, but we would like to see that it goes into a closed-loop system. A closed-loop system meaning that we maximize its longevity, meaning it stay in use for as long as possible. Okay, in order to maintain that longevity, we have to reuse, we have to do repair, we have to remanufacture, we have to recycling, we have to do composting, and we have to have also probably have the extended producer responsibility, where the producer take back whatever materials that they probably sell it, like polystyrene foam in Europe. When you pack televisions, right, they take it back. When you have certain type of containers, okay, you take it back. So that way we increase the longevity of the use of plastic. Then we use less resource because we need less plastics. Okay, we use less oil. Okay, currently we are using 4% of whole oil to produce plastic, and we probably need another 5% of energy, which is also from fossil fuel, to manufacture plastic. Okay, if we can increase the longevity of plastics, recycle, then we can reduce the resource, which is basically oil again. Okay, that will basically again helps we move towards sustainability.
I just add to that. I think since you're on that topic, Michelle, we have all of these brochures on sustainable development. I think that's the new word, sustainable or sustainability. The Malay word is mampan. It's about looking at the whole life cycle, and that's what Tuan Haji has mentioned about cradle to grave. But in terms of plastic, you want cradle to cradle. So whole material goes back to cradle, right? So that's the life cycle. And in terms of plastics, let's take the case of the innocent plastic bag. Always has been the end of life issues, grave. But from the cradle, the way it's made, manufacturing, that in terms of energy and it's lightweight and things like that, people do not look at the whole life cycle. So when you look at the whole life cycle, it's about sustainability. It's being lightweight, it saves energy, but you can add more value when you recycle it or reuse it. And one way reduce is making the things thinner, lighter. Alright. Now in terms of polymer and plastic technology, you can less is more. That's the word. Less is more. Alright. So things are lighter. You can make it lighter and reuse as much as you can. So one example I want to use is that I think has practice. Most of us, when we go to the supermarkets, we get the plastic shopping bags. What do most of us do? We are very responsible, right? We reuse the plastic bags as a bin liner, right? As a bin liner, right? That's what we do. 80% of the public survey, this is a study done by the UK, and they say that 80% of consumers, all the supermarket shopping bags, they reuse as a bin liner for their waste bin. So that's a good practice. At least, even though it's only you use it once or twice, but at least you extended the life. So first you don't have to buy trash bags. You reuse the shopping bags, and sometimes these bags are useful. You use it general purpose. You use it for storage of many things. So Dato', maybe
You want to add anything to that?
Two important things using holistic and also on the 3R, and also on commodity actually. The department does not look in silo. We look in a holistic approach to address plastic waste. We are not bothered on plastic. We are only looking into plastic waste. But while doing our action with the holistic approach, I think the board of my colleagues said the holistic approach is the 3R: reduce, reuse, and recycle. The first R is addressing the resource problem. Whether resource you're using or making the plastic, or to reduce the waste from the plastic reduction. Reuse if we can use back. And lastly is 3R. I think that one I'll deal in much detail afterward.
Okay. Alright, fantastic. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, so stay with us. Alright.
Okay.
Yeah. So